One person in a unique position to document the creation of the order was Peter Lake, a writer from Los Angeles.
Well, they were talking to me about the order.
Lake infiltrated the Aryan Nations compound in early 1984. For several months, he played the role of a potential recruit, even videotaping organization events. At the compound, he met several men who were ready to join the order.
When people are sitting across the dinner table from you, 1 month and then the next month, you have reason to believe that they've murdered people, that they've robbed armored cars, counterfeited. It doesn't connect easily. It really doesn't.
Lake testified at the racketeering trial. His life has been threatened repeatedly. He recently found one of those threats on his telephone answering machine.
You're gonna die, motherfucker.
Do you worry about your safety?
I'm conscious of the threat, let's put it that way. I'm aware of the threat.
People are surprised at what's going on, and I think it's a situation you have to report.
Wayne King is Houston bureau chief of the New York Times. He's covered the Ku Klux Klan and other ultra-right-wing groups for more than 20 years. King sounded an alarm in 1983 after a tax protester named Gordon Call died in a fiery shootout with sheriff's deputies. Call was a member of the militant Posse Comitatus and attended services at Aryan Nations Church. When he died, Call was headed toward a paramilitary compound in Arkansas run by an organization known as the Covenant, Sword, and Arm of the Lord. The FBI later raided the compound, seizing shotguns, rifles, explosives, and 15,000 rounds of ammunition. They also arrested 4 members of the order at the compound. King wrote a series of stories probing the links between these organizations and their new potential for violence. He believes federal law enforcement agencies were slow to react.
I think the FBI and most federal agencies have had less concern about right-wing organizations that tend to be of a possibly violent nature than they have of left-wing organizations. Guys like Matthews and others declared war on what they called the ZOG, the Zionist Occupational Government. When that happened, you saw the Fed begin to scramble. When Matthews shot at a couple federal agents, they should have tumbled to it when Call went down. I really think that they were a little bit slow off the mark. I think once they decided to go, they rolled it up pretty quick.
I think we initiated our investigations properly at the appropriate time.
Robert Gast is an assistant director of the FBI. He says the Bureau must adhere to strict guidelines in monitoring and infiltrating these groups.
Rhetoric is one thing, and that is considered protected by the First Amendment. It's overt acts. It's planning to blow up the Statue of Liberty.
It was the robbery of a Brinks truck in Ukiah, California in July 1984 when the order made off with $3.6 million that drew the FBI's full attention. As a result of several bumbling mistakes by the order, federal agents finally cracked the case. In the Ukiah robbery, Bob Matthews dropped a gun. That gun was registered to Andrew Barnhill. At the same time, Secret Service agents caught several members carelessly trying to pass counterfeit bills. After his arrest, a friend of Bob Matthews involved in the counterfeiting operation became a government informant. As order members were arrested, FBI agents were surprised by how quickly many of them, supposedly hardcore fanatics, pled guilty in exchange for lenient treatment.
When I began to hear that many of them were testifying, it disappointed me, broke my heart.
While Bruce Pierce speaks bitterly about his disappointment, we discovered that even this key order leader spilled the beans to the FBI shortly after his arrest. We obtained Pierce's statement to the FBI in the course of our investigation. This remarkable document details the murder of a movement supporter, several of the armed robberies, and the order's membership roll. Among those Pierce named were Louis Beam, the Ku Klux Klan's chieftain in Texas, and Bud Cutler, the Aryan Nation security chief who has been arrested for conspiring to decapitate a major prosecution witness in the racketeering case. The Pierce statement also outlines a series of payments made with money raised in the robberies to leaders of ultra-right groups nationwide, including Pastor Richard Butler of Aryan Nations Church. According to the document, money was also given to others who have rallied to the order's defense.
I believe that those men are prisoners of war, and I would support them as prisoners of war.
Tom Metzger is one of the most popular leaders on the ultra-right fringe. While media attention was fixed on the trial of order members in Seattle, from his home and headquarters in Fallbrook, California, an hour's drive from San Diego, Metzger continued to recruit for his organization, White American Resistance, or WAR. The days when Metzger put on his Klan hood and organized cross burnings are gone, replaced now by high-tech hatred. With his son John, Metzger now runs a nationwide computer program designed to reach young people with his ideas.
This is the time of rapid communications, and we must be on the cutting edge of technology like anyone else. We like it because it reaches into maybe every home in the United States where there's a computer. Every young person that is into computers, and there are millions across the United States, and they tend to be sharp kids with these computers in their bedroom, and they can type into our computer, log on, and get all this information.
To attract others to his program, Metzger also set up 24-hour telephone hotlines in 8 cities, including Los Angeles, Sacramento, and San Francisco.
Why are the Jews and their supporters so afraid of free speech that they try to terrorize their critics into silence? Consider the Jewish response to some who questioned the Holocaust story.
The flappy and disgusting state of white creatures who call themselves men is a disgrace to the memory of our white ancestors. If white men were strong, idealistic, and bold, this nation wouldn't have turned into the slime pit it is now. If white men became
war, white American resistance. White women must be punished for supporting daycare centers and child molesters.
Metzger also has a television talk show aired on community access cable television.
Race and Reason, that show dedicated to free speech.
Metzger is a thorn, if you will, acne on the face of San Diego society. He's an embarrassment. He is there, he is ignored, but he is not forgotten.
Morris Casuto is San Diego Regional Director of the B'nai B'rith Anti-Defamation League.
He does not run a paramilitary operation. He does not engage in urban guerrilla warfare training. He is unprepared at this point to rob banks and blow up armored cars and murder. So clearly you have to differentiate him from the order.
Although Metzger is not accused of participating in the order's crimes, there is some evidence that he enjoyed the fruits of the order's efforts. According to Bruce Pierce's statement to the FBI, Metzger received between $250,000 and $300,000 taken in the robberies. Reached by telephone, Metzger denied he had taken the money. Anti-Defamation League officials charged with monitoring Metzger's white American resistance are concerned that men recruited by Metzger will imitate the order and turn from rhetoric to action. The largest war chapter statewide is in San Francisco.
Nazis in San Francisco. It is a surprising thought.
Rhonda Abrams is head of the Anti-Defamation League in San Francisco.
I don't know how violent war really will become. Inevitably, if they get away with making small actions, nonviolent actions, and not be held accountable, they may be led to greater acts of violence because they will feel a certain degree of anonymity and a certain belief that they're beyond the law.
San Francisco recently suffered a pipe bomb scare. Powerful bombs were set outside 2 synagogues, a rabbi's home, and headquarters of the Humanist Party. The bombs were wrapped in anti-Semitic leaflets denouncing Zionist Jews. Rabbi Jacob Traub of Congregation Adath Israel had 2 near misses. In July, a pipe bomb was left on the door of his temple. In mid-September, another bomb was found outside his home while he, his wife, and his daughter prepared to celebrate Rosh Hashanah. Traub emphasized that beyond a few new security measures, his activities would not be affected by bombs and threats.
I will not be intimidated by these people, and I think anyone who allows themselves to be intimidated by these people are playing into their hands and are just giving into the terrible terror of this generation, and that is the sickness of the 80s, terror.
The FBI arrested Coy Ray Phelps, a longtime white supremacist from San Francisco, for setting the bombs. Still, the Anti-Defamation League believes that organizations such as WAR bear some of the blame, even if they are not directly responsible.
They help create an atmosphere in which some people feel emboldened to do these kinds of activities.
In a telephone conversation, the leader of the San Francisco chapter of White American Resistance, a man who goes by the name Chuck Miller, denied that WAR was to blame for the pipe bombs. But Miller also made it clear that WAR had no basic quarrel with violent attacks on Jews. Miller said, "This is the kind of violence we least support because it brings bad publicity without accomplishing much. There's a difference between these activities and the way the order accomplished things." Miller declined to be interviewed on camera. One Northern California WAR member who did agree to talk with us is Bob Spittler, a marine diver and boat repairman from Vallejo. He's also the leader of his own small group, the Aryan Renaissance Command, and he makes no secret of his Nazi orientation.
The philosophy of Nazism is unknown to most people. You can't go into a library and find a copy of Mein Kampf. You can't even find a copy of Henry Ford's International Jew. So how are the people going to know what Nazism is?
His own conversion to Nazism was a combination of personal experience and sharp reactions to current events.
I've seen what's happened to this country. I was in Vietnam. And I was a victim of the criminally mismanaged economy that this country is subjected to. And I want to get back at it, and this is the only way I know for right now to do it.
Spittler believes that the example set by the order helps recruit others into white American resistance.
They represent a symbol that we can aspire to. They did demonstrate that things can be done, that you can prove the United States government to be yellow.
What about the murder of Berg?
I'm sorry I didn't do it myself. Why? I'll tell you why. Because I don't think a JDL goon with a machine gun would hesitate to do me the same way Berg was done.
Are you saying that Alan Berg was a JDL?
No.
So why did he deserve what he got?
Probably because of misrepresentation of the public.
If all of us had the right to kill those who we thought were misrepresenting things, we'd be a nation of dead people, wouldn't we?
Probably. I think we would. Well,
so how does that square?
I don't have a pat answer for that. You see, one of the Jewish tenets is an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Now, they've been taking our eyes and our teeth for an awful lot of centuries. So they're getting a taste of their own medicine.